CA Amit Kedia to give a welcome note to our keynote speaker, the main speaker of the day, Kishore Kumbare, and also introduce our main speaker of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ramesh Prabhu sir, for giving me this opportunity of introducing of Kishore Kumbare sir. Kishore Kumbare sir is a Master of Business Administration, an MBA, and a Master of Commerce. He's a certified associate of Banker, Indian Institute of Bankers, CAIIB, overseeing the treasury operations, housing and housing finance related activities in Western region. He has more than 30 years of experience with 24 years in National Housing Bank itself and regulatory and supervision and accounts. He has also worked and led some of the most critical initiatives, including alternative investment funds, panelist credit empanelments, transferable development rights, credit linked subsidy scheme. He is also being a part of restructuring of institute related to action some of Indian largest trouble mortgage lenders. He has been an alumni of University of US Asia Institute of Management Philippines. So with all these boutique uh, qualifications, boutique experience which Kishore Kumbare sir is having, and we are looking forward for the problems which are having which are being faced by the stalled projects. Kishore Kumbare sir address and his knowledge today would be a lifeline to these all projects. How we can be help, how these projects could be helpful by getting funding, and what are the schemes. So, sir, Kishore Kumbare sir, over to you. We are very eagerly waiting to listen and enrich ourselves.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present NHB's role affordable housing. Friends, we all know housing is a key part of our well-being and contributes to our social mobility. Our housing market is characterized by excess demand for affordable housing, a small rental market, and oversupply of high-end housing. Despite increase in the stock of quality housing in the recent years, the housing shortage among low-income population is large. There are a couple of reasons for that. First and most important is housing prices are relatively high as compared to the income. And second one is access to formal credit is often difficult for low-income population. And even if it is available, you can imagine the rate of interest the few housing finance companies are charging. It is between 14% to 24%. So EMI amount is almost double for this low-income population. Rapid rise in population, ongoing urbanization, particularly rural-urban migration, are intensifying demand for housing, particularly low income of the market. However, despite several housing programs, public housing programs that boosted supply as well, the housing shortage for us remains. Providing adequate and affordable housing is an ever-growing challenge for many of us. Today, in my session, I'll cover, I have divided in three parts, my presentation in three parts. First one is housing shortage. I'll just touch upon that. Government programs and constant in affordable housing. Second one is housing finance system. Defining affordable housing. Affordable housing, if we talk about affordable housing, there are lot many definitions. Everybody has got their own definitions. So we'll touch upon that, and a few government definition will touch upon that. And third and most importantly, role played by NHB in through its various housing programs. So I'll start with that. Friends, you may know that 40 years of independent India, the country did not have any formal housing finance system, or we can say lacking housing finance system in the country. In 1988, National Housing Bank was set up, and after setup of National Housing Bank, many housing finance companies came forward. Of course, there was some legacy data or housing companies, NBFCs were there into housing finance business. Those were transferred to NHB. But after setup of NHB, many housing finance company came forward. Before setup of NHB, there were two housing finance company, namely HDFC, everybody knows, and Diwan, 2 years before setup of NHB. And after setup of NHB, of course, many of those housing finance companies have been sponsored by the commercial banks, and commercial banks also started lending for housing after NHB setup. So formal housing finance system started once after setup of NHB. Today, there are 99 housing finance companies registered with NHB. Of course, regulatory function are now gone to RBI, and RBI will be issuing license hereinafter. But supervisory functions remains with NHB. And today's total HFC's asset size stands at about 15 lakh crore with 10 lakh crore housing loans. So I'll take you through my presentation. So National Housing, as I said, National Housing Bank was set up in 1988 as an apex level housing finance institution to operate as a principal agency to promote the housing finance institutions. Promote the housing finance institution, that was the primary function of NHB. And after NHB was set up, I did mention that many housing finance companies came forward to provide the financial and other support to serve the housing need. To provide financial and other support. You may be wondering what is other financial support. So we provide all other support in addition to finance, like state government program. We participate in state government program, formulating their policies, housing finance policies, and across the country to serve the housing need with focus on low and moderate income housing. So our focus has always been low and moderate income housing. Our vision has been promoting inclusive expansion with stability in housing finance market. Yes, that is our vision. So I'll take you through the housing finance shortage. About housing finance shortage, if I talk about report on Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation, they estimated urban housing shortage of around 19 million homes during the period 2012 to 2017. It is not that if I say that 19 million houses housing shortage, it may that there are homeless people. No, it is not like there were homeless people. Figure was around 50 lakhs, but total housing shortage consists of non-serviceable kacha house, obsolete house, congested house, and homeless people as well. So, but the housing shortage is one part. Just see that 95%, more than 95% shortage in affordable and LIG segment. So majority chunk is in shortage in for EWS and LIG population in urban areas. But yes, there was a report by the government in 2018-19. They have now estimated housing shortage in urban areas of about 10 million houses. That may be that during that period from 2015 to 2019, there was Prime Minister Awas Yojana, under which we have disbursed a lot of subsidy and some project took up. So that may be the reason for reduction in urban housing shortage. Now, talking about rural housing shortage, there was a working group on rural housing. They estimated housing shortage of 44 million houses in rural areas. And of those 44 million houses, more than 90% shortage was in below poverty line population. So just imagine that below poverty line, they are struggling for their daily need or food and all, and they cannot afford to have houses for themselves. This is the housing finance system in India, just to talk about, because many of you may know that housing finance companies and public sector banks, they are financing for developers and all those things, but there are many more players in this. Financial institution category, there is NHB, NABARD, housing finance companies, and other NBFCs. Now some of the NBFCs, now they have converted into housing finance companies, but there are major chunk that NBFCs are catering for housing finance segment. In banking category, there are scheduled commercial bank and cooperative bank. So in scheduled commercial bank, there are public sector banks, private sector bank, foreign banks, regional rural bank, and small finance bank. But regional rural and foreign bank, their share is little less, but nevertheless, they are also in the housing finance system. And cooperative bank category, there are state cooperative bank, urban cooperative bank, and district cooperative bank. Just to mention here that when I took over charge of Mumbai regional office, then I thought of going towards urban cooperative bank segment and district cooperative bank, because I find that my study says that these are not this segment of bank has been, you can say, neglected for Prime Minister Awas Yojana for subsidy, CLSS subsidy. So we had a program for this urban cooperative bank in the state of Maharashtra. There are around 500 urban cooperative banks. Many more of that. After that, they have agreement with us, and after that agreement, they are also claiming subsidy for their borrowers. Other institution category, many of you may know, may not know, that there are agriculture and rural development banks. The primary call as primary land development bank. They're lending through their primary land development banks, and they are into rural housing segment. Again, Apex cooperative housing societies are there, and they also lend through their primary housing societies, but they are into urban segment. So coming to housing policy, if you ask me, I can divide this housing policies and program in India into four categories. First is Nehru era. We can say that 1947 to 1964. Then Gandhi era and Green Revolution 1965 to 1990. Then post-liberalization 91 and 2000, and economic globalization. But I'll not get into that, because in the first 40 years of our independent India, we had no what we can say is no priority for housing. So I'll not get into this, but after incorporation of NHB, I'll touch upon some policies formulated by Government of India. Government of India came out is that National Housing Policy. That policy recognized shelter as a human need for the first time, and development of housing sector as a whole was emphasized. Long-term goal of the policy included eradication of problem of lack of housing and improving the housing condition of inadequately housed. So first time in the independent India, government came out with the national housing policy that recognized shelter as a basic human need and development of housing sector. After 10 years of that, government came out with another national policy, call it as National Housing and Habitat Policy. This policy was emphasis on creating surplus housing stock. When we talk about creating surplus housing stock in 1998, today we have shortage of millions of houses, and providing quality and cost-effective shelter option, especially for urban people. But we are far behind of that. And policy also emphasized to ensure that housing is treated as priority at par with infrastructure sector. So priority was given for housing also in 1998. Of course, NHB, National Housing Bank, was the party to this formulation of this policy, contributed to the policy. Then in 2005, when new government came in, they came out with Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission. The mission was launched with the aim to cover construction of 1.5 million houses for urban poor during the mission period 2005 to 17. JNURM had two subsections particularly relating to housing: basic services for urban poor, including affordable housing, and integrated housing and slum development programs. So after that, immediately after 2 years, government came out with another national policy, National Urban Housing and Habitat Policy. The policy was intended to promote sustainable development of habitat in the country, and it sought to promote various type of public-private partnership for realizing the goal of affordable housing for all. Again, special emphasis was urban poor. In 2008, government came out with interest subsidy scheme for housing the urban poor. And interest subsidy of 5% was provided for loan up to 1 lakh. 1 lakh is nothing, but government at least thought of providing subsidy for a full period of 15 to 20 years of loan period. The maximum loan amount was again 1 lakh and 1,60,000. In 2008, no EWS or LIG borrower can imagine to have house for 1 lakh rupees or 1.5 lakh rupees. And subsidy was provided upfront with NPV at the rate of 9%. In 2013, in 2009 also there was another program, but before that, I'll talk about 2013. Government came out with Rajiv Rin Yojana, and this was formulated by modifying the interest subsidy scheme for housing the urban poor, and loan limit was increased after realizing that 1 lakh is nothing, 1.5 lakh is nothing. Loan upper limit was revised to 5 lakhs for EWS and 8 lakhs for LIG population, and interest subsidy again increased from 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees. But this program, we can say that there were no takers. I'll come for after that. Then in 2009, Rajiv Awas Yojana was launched, and Rajiv Awas Yojana, the objective of this scheme was to improving and providing housing, provisioning for housing, basic civic infrastructure and social amenities. There was provision for institutionalizing mechanism for prevention of slum, including creation of affordable housing stock. But this scheme was rolled over into Housing for All by 2022 by the current government, and I'll discuss this Prime Minister Awas Yojana in detail, because NHB is one of the nodal agency and subsidy is routed through NHB. In 99% subsidy is routed through NHB. In 2013, again government came out with housing, affordable housing in partnership. This scheme was launched as a part of Rajiv Awas Yojana to increase affordable housing stock with outlay of 5,000 crore for construction of 1 million houses. Again, 1 million target was given with at least 25% for EWS category. And scheme was to facilitate partnership between various agencies realizing the goal of affordable housing for all. Finally, in 2015, government came out with Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Housing for All, and this mission became effective from 17 June 2016 and being implemented during the period of 2015 to 2022. But for MIG segment, effective till 2000, now it has increased to 2021. It was earlier it was up to 2020. Now it has increased. But the point here is, despite several government programs, public housing programs for providing housing to low-income population remain as a challenge. And I don't think that EWS category still has a chance to getting house. Now coming to this is the first part of my presentation, where we discuss housing shortage and various programs by the government. But in spite of all those things, we are still have shortage in urban as well as rural areas. Friends, when we talk about affordable housing, I think for me, there is no clear-cut definition of affordable housing, and it is relative concept and could have several implied meaning in different contexts. I do inspection of housing finance company, namely HDFC, Diwan, Piramal, or India Bulls and Bajaj recently. I did those inspections, but I met many of the fund managers. Everybody has got their own definition of affordable housing. Some of the fund managers, they have got 1 crore, 1.5 crore. Some they take 600 square feet carpet area. So it is several implied meaning in different contexts. Internationally, housing affordability is defined in multiple ways, but One of the most commonly accepted definition is expenditure on housing. I mean cost of housing to income of the household. One other definition I find is housing, affordable housing refers to any housing that meets some forms of affordability criterion. What is those some form of? Primary one being income level, size of dwelling units, and proportion of expenditure required for housing. Another definition, what we say is a housing unit which could be affordable, by the household in different income ranges and provided by the market within that price range. So it means it is not for EWS, but when we talk about affordable housing, it is for poor people housing. But when this definition says different income ranges provided by the market within that ranges, so person can afford 1 crore house, 2 crore house, 5 crore house, and 100 crore house. So that is also affordability by way of this definition. Again, one last definition I see that housing unit which could be affordable by that section of society whose income is less than the country's average household income. So now this is the true definition. I feel that at least we must talk about affordability for lower income population, that is country's average household income. Now I'm taking some of the definitions of housing by the government. There was a committee, a task force on affordable housing set up by Ministry of Housing under the chairmanship of Mr. Deepak Parekh. And in 2008, they came out with definition of affordable housing like for EWS and LIG borrower, carpet area most likely between 300 square feet and 600 square feet, and cost not exceeding 4 times of the household gross income, and EMI not exceeding 30% of the household gross income. But when we talk about even if we take current Prime Minister Awas Yojana, where we talk about 300 square feet for EWS category, 600 square feet for LIG category, but 600 and 300 and income range is up to 3 lakhs for EWS category annual income and 6 lakhs for LIG category. But if I take 300, even that highest end of the 3 lakhs, they are eligible for, as per this definition, 4 times of household gross income. So they are eligible for house having cost of 12 lakhs rupees. But 12 lakhs rupees, for paying that 12 lakhs rupees, he need to have at least repayment capacity of 50%, more than 50%, and not the 30% here what we have mentioned. And particularly EWS and LIG population, they always borrow at very high cost and not the cost offered to the normal borrower. Anyway, again for MIG, they find a unit with carpet area not exceeding 1200 square feet. It is a big house. Carpet area 1200 means built up area maybe 1700, and cost not exceeding 5 times and EMI not exceeding 40 times. So they find repayment capacity for LIG and EWS borrower is 30% and MIG borrower is 40%. Another definition in 2011, government came out with for EWS borrower, they say 25 square meter carpet area or 300 square feet built up area. For LIG, built up area is 500 square feet and 48 square meter carpet area. Again for MIG, between 600 to 1200 built up area and 80 square meter carpet area. But cost that permits repayment of home loan is monthly installment not exceeding 30 to 40%. So this definition is similar to the definition prescribed by Task Force on Affordable Housing. Again, for housing project here, EWS, LIG, MIG with maximum size of 1200 square feet super area with at least 25% of them for EWS of about 300 square feet. MADA, if I am not wrong, I have got this definition. Carpet area 28 square meter for EWS with annual income is 1.292 lakhs. For LIG segment, they say 45 square meter with annual income is 4,80,000. and 80 square meter for MIG with annual income of 8.4 lakhs. Now question here is whether the borrower person is having income of 1.922 lakhs or 3 lakhs, whether there is housing available, housing is made available for MADA by MADA. That is the question, in particularly in MMR region, Mumbai metropolitan region. That is the question we need to discuss separately and cannot be a part of this presentation. Yes, of course, RBI again came out with another definition. They say for issue of long-term bonds by banks, they say up to 50 lakhs, loan up to 50 lakhs, and property value is 65 lakhs in metro region. Then they say 40 lakhs, loan amount 40 lakhs, and property value is 50 lakhs in other areas. Again, for a housing project using at least 50% of FSI for dwelling unit, and this definition they came out with very recently, and I was part of that discussion, and we had a lot of brainstorming on that, and I suggested that we can take definition from the GST and income tax prescribed by GST and income tax, or prescribed in PMAY by the central government. Housing loan to individual under priority sector, which is again classified as affordable, where loan up to 35 lakhs is classified as affordable with property value of 45 lakhs. Up to 25 lakhs for other areas, and there also property value is 30 lakhs. Housing project under priority sector, cost ceiling up to 10 lakhs per dwelling unit, and income up to 3 lakhs and 6 lakhs for EWS and LIG borrower respectively. RBI has recently amended one more definition, and that is for the developer funding. Earlier it was 10 lakhs per borrower. Now bank loan to HFCs for on lending. Earlier it was 10 lakhs. So they now increased to 20 lakhs. Now bank lending can be considered as priority under priority sector, and it is affordable housing that way. GST and income tax, they have given definition, another definition. Carpet area up to 60 square meter in metros and 90 square meter in non-metros, with house cost up to 45 lakhs in both metros and non-metros. For infrastructure, there is one more definition, at least 50% of FAR or FSI for dwelling unit with carpet area of 60 square meter. That is the definition RBI has recently taken for their issue of long-term bonds by the. So with this, how many definitions we have? Again, under Rajiv Awas Yojana, for EWS borrower, definition is 21 square meter to 27 square meter. For LIG, they segmented into two categories, LIG A and LIG B, where 28 to 40 square meter carpet area for LIG A, and LIG B is 41 to 60 square meter carpet area. But now government came out with another definition under Prime Minister Awas Yojana, and they say EWS category, carpet area is up to 330 square meter, and household income is up to 3 lakhs. This definition is for eligibility of subsidy and nothing else. For LIG borrower, they say carpet area is up to 60 square meter and income about 3 lakhs to 6 lakhs. In MIG, there are two categories, and I don't think MIG people need subsidy actually. So for MIG category, up to 160 square meter carpet area and income level is about 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs, and MIG2 category up to 200 square meter carpet area and about 12 lakhs to 18 lakhs income level. So when we talk about subsidy, whether person having 200 square meter carpet area really need subsidy under PMAY, I don't understand that thing. So there are a few constraints when we talk about housing, affordable housing. The first one is I did mention that access of formal credit is often difficult for low-income borrower, and because they are risky client and low-income group lacks collateral, formal documentation, and record of identification. Loan and at affordable cost and term is also one of the challenge for them. I also mentioned that thing because if I go to get some loan from banks or housing finance company, I may get at 8.5%. But for this borrower, rates start from 14% and up to 24%. Yes, second constraint is for affordable housing is unavailability of urban land. Even land is available at very high cost. So affordability, question of affordability is not there. So high land cost also constraint from low income housing. Regulatory, yes, there are regulatory constraints, and our land development process in India is very tedious and lengthy procedure, and it enforced to pass through multiple departments, central, state, ULBs, local government. So this is also one of the constraints. Lack of concurrent approach, because what I feel is still we are unable to understand what is the need for affordable housing. Because when we talk about affordable housing, there are 95% population below poverty line or EWS-LIG category. They don't have houses, and shortage in that area is large. So there is we have to think beyond the box, and we can have discussion separately on this. Lack of beneficiary participants, like sir said, beginning of the presentation, that SRA project they are not taking off, and there are lot of stuck project. So there are many regions how to handle those things. So that is also one of the reason that poor mobilization, household contribution, identification of preferred housing option, incremental rental, and rental scheme. Now government has come out with a rental scheme. Sir asked me one thing that stall project के लिए कोई scheme है कि नहीं है? Yes, NHB government asked NHB. There has been a lot of discussion, but now it has gone to SBI, and SBI is coming out with 25,000 crore alternate investment fund, and that will be utilized for this stall project. So they are working on that. Economic disparity is one of the region that while income on the rise, the increase in income inequality result in supply chasing the demand for fewer. So those who have income, they are chasing the demand, leaving large unmet need for housing of the population at the lower income strata. So for lower income, their income level is there always, or there may not be that on the rise. So they are always their need is always unmet. So I cover in this various housing finance definition, but only thing that with these several definitions, I feel that there has to have one single definition for metro and other areas, and it is a relative concept that the free definition has their own region for that